Okay, so basically I'm convinced I should never attend a Bulls game ever again because clearly I'm just bad luck to have the guys play their worst basketball whenever I go to a game live. Kidding, obviously, because I would never be able to not go to another Bulls game again, but this was the kind of bounce back game the Bulls needed on the road against one of the hottest teams in the league right now in the Clippers, who were fresh off of winning 7 straight games prior to tonight's loss, and the Bulls really were carried on the back of this guy right here in DeMar DeRozan, who put on a show in front of his hometown, who was just incredible with that sweet mid-range game. And I should take that back, actually, because Lavine was huge in this game as well, but I have some thoughts on him that I'll share in a bit. And the win comes at a good time when the Bulls are facing yet again another good team on the second half of a back-to-back against the Lakers tomorrow night, and it sounds like it's likely we'll be seeing Coby White's season debut in that one. But for now, let's talk about this game. So what's going on, everyone? You were listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. You know, after having a very disappointing loss in which the Bulls looked like they were going to struggle this whole West Coast trip without Vucevic, and really because the Bulls weren't going to match up well against these bigger teams, the Warriors were really going to be the smallest team that they would face. And don't get me wrong, their upcoming games, especially against Anthony Davis and Jokic in the coming days, are going to be more challenging than the guys that they face tonight. But it's encouraging to see the adjustments made by Billy Donovan to recognize that what we needed down low, and starting Caruso, which I was a little surprised by, was exactly the start that they needed. Because look, Caruso is not a power forward by any stretch of the imagination, but what Caruso does that a guy like Javonte Green or even Alize Johnson doesn't is pester and fight on defense, to the point where you don't need to focus so much on rebounding because he's creating contact and stoppage before his man even gets to the paint. Dude is a straight defensive stopper, and I think we'll likely see Caruso in the starting lineup going forward until Vucevic is back, and who knows, maybe he'll even continue to start a power forward for the rest of the season while Patrick is out, although I find that a little more unlikely, as there is something to be said about Caruso coming off the bench and leading that second unit. Now, I was a little nervous with how the fourth quarter started off when I believe the Clippers got off to a 7-0 run and actually took the lead at one point, and I was questioning what Billy Donovan was doing by not putting in Alize to give the Bulls some more size, but really the key switch was with Caruso, who was just all over the place in the fourth quarter, coming up with huge defensive plays. Caruso didn't shoot the ball well in his first start, only 2 for 11 from the field, but he made it up for it in everything else that he did, pulling down 9 boards, 5 assists, and 3 steals as the guy who leads the league in steals per game currently, and as a player coming off the bench makes it even more impressive. But how about DeMar DeRozan setting the tone early in this one, putting up 21 points in the first half alone and giving the Bulls a commanding lead in the first quarter, responding well after a very off night against Golden State. DeRozan, the Compton native, loves playing in his hometown and put up a dominant 35 points on a ridiculous 12 for 16 shooting from the field, 10 for 11 from the line. Again, something we don't talk about enough is DeRozan's ability to get to the free throw line. Not only that, but he also had 7 rebounds and 5 assists. DeRozan was actually looking decent on defense as well, getting in the passing lanes and putting a body on guys like Paul George and Nicholas Batum, which led to a lot of missed shots from those guys. I mean, PG was 7 for 25 from the field tonight, 2 for 10 from 3, for a guy who has arguably been the best two-way player in the league so far this season. But with the Bulls, with the way that they were playing defense tonight, especially from guys like Caruso, Lonzo, and even Javonte Green, who had some big defensive plays in the fourth quarter, Paul George was just not able to get any looks at the basket all night. Now, like I said, Zach Lavine also had another incredible game. He was especially lethal in the second half. The first half, it was all DeRozan, and Lavine took over on offense for a good portion of the second half, which is what makes this team so deadly when you have the luxury of 2 elite scorers who can take over on any given night. Lavine finished the game with 29 points, not that efficient, nothing like DeRozan, who just appeared to make every shot that he put up. Lavine was 11 for 27 from the field, 6 for 13 from 3, and couldn't find his way to the free throw line with only 1 attempt tonight, but he also had 8 rebounds, which was great. Again, rebounding so key for this team without Vucevic, which we didn't see in the last game. But here's what I want to say about Lavine. And I know I'm going to get heat for this in the comments, and that's fine. You guys know I keep it real on this channel, even if it's not always the popular opinion, and I'm going to critique players when I think it's fair, and I'll always prop up our guys, despite me being a diehard Bulls fan. But look, what I struggle with from Lavine and just makes me pull my hair out sometimes when I'm watching him in the game, is his tendencies to go back to his old ways and play hero ball and put up shots when he has guys around him who are wide open. And unlike last year, the guys who are open can actually hit these shots or make plays to find another open man. Like, that's what makes this Bulls team so great, is they are incredible when it comes to ball movement and picking their spots wisely. And Lavine does that, but then he has these mental lapses when he tries to take over the game at the worst times. And then to make matters worse, when Lavine misses his shots or turns the ball over trying to drive to the basket, he stands there and doesn't hustle back on defense. Go back and watch some of the game. That happened a good 3 times in the fourth quarter where Lavine messed up and didn't get back on defense. Like, the least you can do is, if you have a bad possession, you realize you messed up and hustle back on D and try to make up for it by getting the ball back, then slowly jogging back to the ball while your teammates are sprinting back to try to get a stop. Again, it doesn't take away from the fact that Lavine is still our best player. He's an all-star in the face of this franchise, and we wouldn't be anywhere close to as good as we are without him. But I just really need to see these poor decisions from Lavine to cease if he wants to take that leap to being a superstar. He just needs to play smarter basketball in situations where you have a good lead and can close out a game in crunch time. Go ahead, torch me in the comments. I can take it. It's just my opinion on the matter. The other guy I've been kind of disappointed with recently is Lonzo Ball. He's been incredible on defense, so I don't even need to address that part. But I need to see this guy be more of a floor general on the court. Like, sometimes the Bulls offense can get a little lost, and that's what we brought a guy like Lonzo onto the roster, to be able to run the offense and be that go-to facilitator. And to be honest, you're seeing a guy like Caruso be a better floor general than Lonzo on offense. And he's also just been inconsistent with his shot. We see him light it up like he did against the Mavs, and then misses like 10 3-pointers against the Warriors. And of course, he was 4 for 14 tonight, even missing some easy floaters. I don't know. Anyway, sorry, enough of the negative attitude, especially after such a big win for the Bulls tonight. Even for Lonzo and Lavine and my criticisms of them for this game, they were both still huge pieces for the Bulls tonight. It's more so that I just have high expectations of both of these guys. Tony Bradley played better in the starting lineup tonight, but still need to see him be a little more aggressive and bring that energy that he brought when he was coming off the bench, but also understood that he's just not a starter level player in the NBA, and he's playing in a role he's simply not used to. But I would love to see Alizé get some minutes at center like we saw against the Warriors, when Bradley isn't bringing the hustle and crashing the boards. Also, Javonte Green was pretty big for the Bulls tonight in this game and hitting some big shots. Had an incredible block in the fourth quarter that led to a bucket for the Bulls on the other end when they really needed it. And then Dosunmu had a much better game than he did against the Warriors. I mean, really, that applies to everyone. No one played well in that game, but Dosunmu's energy, his confidence was back, and he was getting some big hustle plays on loose balls. And guys, the Bulls finally shot decent from 3 tonight, shooting 11 for 29 from behind the arc. Believe it or not, without Vucevic, they out-rebounded the Clippers, and they forced 19 turnovers to the Clippers, although the Bulls had 15 turnovers of their own. Bulls turnover to assist ratio, again, not great tonight. 19 assists to 15 turnovers. I really want to see the Bulls get back to those 30-plus assist numbers we saw at the beginning of the season when the ball movement was flowing like none other. And hopefully they'll be able to get back to that when Vucevic is also back in the lineup, since he's a good playmaker as well. But the Bulls are just that much more successful when they're moving the ball well and playing team basketball instead of heavy isolation plays. Don't get me wrong, that does work some of the time, but it is not as effective when all of the guys are getting involved. Anyway, a big win, a big bounce back win from their loss the other night, and the Bulls are right back at it at Staples Center tomorrow against the Lakers. I'll have my weekly preview video out tomorrow morning. Going to be a crazy grind for these couple of days between games with the video upload, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.